Well, so that's where David Blaine got his sinful idea. Damn you, DreamWorks.
You couldn't mention this in your video on Up? Or maybe he did and I'm being ignorant.
What's more upsetting? A raccoon comprehending coin values in order to dispense his favorite chip, or a snack vendor woefully neglecting this roadside machine? I mean, look at the lack of inventory.
I think what's more upsetting is the fact that even now and probably forever, you refuse to comprehend the idea of suspending your disbelief in the face of an animated movie. RJ's a street smart raccoon, so he'd know already the right coin value. He wasn't born yesterday. As for the neglecting bit, maybe the lack of inventory is because nobody would want to work the midnight shift of restocking this machine. I've seen people at my old high school restock the machine at lunch, so maybe that's what's going to happen to this machine later.
Vincent.
RJ opting for convenient junk food rather than foraging for forest food is believable, but he's willing to scale a mountain before checking the picnic tables and trash cans nearby? How many times have you gone hungry in the basement rather than go upstairs to make food? You don't scale the stairs if you haven't checked under the bed for a partially eaten Luna bar.
CinemaSins hates their viewers, and some of us hate them too. The one-sided coin. And besides, Vincent has the most food. RJ does check out the tables and such later, mainly out of desperation because he's hungry and his life's on the line.
Where the did that massive grappling hook fishing rod come from? It wasn't in his bag beforehand, so is this going to be one of those cartoons that does whatever the it wants?
I'm pretty sure every cartoon is one of those cartoons. I fear the day you touch on Tex Avery.
RJ is incredibly accurate with this fishing rod. You would think he would turn his attention to a nearby body of water and use those skills to fish, for food.
9.18 million subscribers, humans.
The chance of this paddleball string stretching to reach this root is about as possible as a man satisfying his girlfriend when she tells him to go deeper.
Envy, gluttony and greed, pride, wrath, sloth, and lust. The 7 deadly sins, and we're barely a full minute into this picture. And considering the paddleball stretched pretty far in this scene, you must be talking about a paddleball that uses basic rope.
Look, I'm well aware this is a cartoon, but looking at this wagon, how the did he get everything to stay in place while he wrapped cords around it? And just because you show me that there's a half-assed blanket wrapped around roughly 16% of the items on this cart doesn't make me confident the gambit worked.
Keep in mind, he understands it's a cartoon, but still questions why it does what it does. How do sins like this happen?
Also, are we assuming the bungee cables came from his golf bag of holding? Or did the cave have all the convenient items he needs for this heist? In which case, what use does a bear or raccoon have for an inflatable raft?
I'll say the former. And it's safest to say that raft must have been in one of the bags or coolers.
Also, movie drastically overinflates the abilities of this raft.
Also, dude, please just move on. We get it. You hate stuff.
Holy shit, that wagon just stopped on a dime after being launched 20 feet in the air.
Is it a biggie? If this keeps up, I think I may need to bring in another sin count, the subsided sin count, because there's both so much and not much to pick apart in this 17-minute video that some of these just need to stand over there in that corner. The reasons for why they're subsided may be because of the following.
This movie suggests the bear has a can of potato chips in his arms, even though he clearly didn't before RJ made his jump. It also didn't come off of a wagon full of goodies because nothing fell off, and even if it did, it would require the discount Pringles can to become sentient and maneuver itself into the sweet embrace of a sleeping bear.
Or it could have been one very simple error in the animation department. Considering there are changes in the frames per second and rendering in this movie, I'd say one simple missed detail beforehand is a very valid reason.
Tiniest noise wakes up the antagonist after the protagonist has made tons of noise cliché.
Things that happen in real life happen in cartoons cliché. 9.18 million, folks.
First off, what the is this truck honking its horn at? Second off, why can't the truck get in the other lane to avoid the wagon? They have no problem changing lanes when I'm trying to pass, and they have somebody ahead of them going a fraction slower than they are, so smashing into a wagon full of snacks should be avoidable.
Firstly, maybe the driver thought it was a big creature or something. Second, considering the speed it was going at, I think trying to get in the other lane is more dangerous than just crashing into a wagon full of food. That alone breaks apart your changing lane statement.
And don't even think about running away, because if you do, I will hunt you down and kill you.
Does a bear do gangster shit in the woods?
Either that or a mob.
Saving 3 cents.
Capitalism.
Man, even on the cooler and lawn equipment, you're saving 3 cents. Not sure if this is a joke or if this store is being disingenuous with its savings, or if the animators are just lazy.
Capitalism.
During RJ's entire life as a hungry raccoon looking for food, how has he missed this giant neighborhood that's this close to the foraging zone? Although honestly, as we're about to find out, this neighborhood apparently sprung up literally overnight, so maybe I should give him a pass for not noticing this before. Nah.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Besides, this neighborhood didn't spring up literally overnight. Best case, it came in while the Woodlanders were hibernating. Worst case, much longer than that. But literally speaking, literally overnight is a phony statement. Pause really quick. I feel like I should mention that in the original video CinemaSins did, they've done this thing where stock music and noise is played alongside the clip whenever Jeremy's not talking, and when music is meant to be playing. It's obviously very differently done here, but I still feel like bringing it up. Regardless, I'll be adding one sin here to account for all the times they've done this disruptive way of preventing a takedown notice.
Oh, that's cold. That's cold.
Wait, did they just recently have snow everywhere and now it's full-blown spring? If this turtle's been hibernating the whole time, how has he not been showered with melting snow like this?
Maybe Vern can move in his sleep? Considering these animals can talk and one of them has a duffel bag of goodies, that can be assumed too.
Come on, everybody, wake up. Don't make me come in there.
Y'all better listen. I've been holding something in all winter, and I'm about to let it out.
If Stella had the power to make everybody wake up, why did she wait until Vern got irritated to do something about it? Isn't Stella a part of the group of animals that wasn't waking up?
I would assume Stella woke up at the same time she heard Vern telling everyone to wake up.
Also, what would kid movies do if they couldn't rely on hilarious potty humor?
You mean what would kids' movies do if they couldn't rely on well-timed potty humor? I'd say they still do good.
Well, he is kinda pokey.
Yep, he's the sharpest of the bunch there.
It's good to see that even in animated movies, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara are required to play a married couple after the Best in Show Accords were passed in the year 2000.
Yeah, this is going to keep up. Let's just get the subcited sins counted early.
This means we were 9 berries away from starvation.
But after you gave the possums 2 berries, there are 8 berries on the branch, so that's at least 10 berries. And then when the movie cuts, you have 10 berries on the branch and the possums are still holding their 2 berries. Then after giving the porcupines, the squirrel, and the skunk a berry each, the branch is somehow empty?
Okay, fair enough, this is an animation error like the Spuddies can from earlier. That is something to note. But how distracting is it in reality? It really only counts if you're actively looking for things to nitpick. And if that's the way you watch a movie, just don't.
Right on the tip of my tongue! Oh yeah, there's a weird thing over there I've never seen before. It's really scary. Follow me.
Steve Carell is a fucking delight, and his vocal performance here brings a smile to my dark soul. All hail Steve Squirrel!
I won't remove a sin here because A, that's not my game, and B, Jeremy for once is speaking facts. I like Carell as Hammy here too. Anybody who doesn't can still enjoy this.
Hammy, what weird thing?
Jesus Christ, how long was this winter? How did the new neighborhood build a never-ending hedge in just a few months?
Keep in mind that earlier on, Jeremy said this neighborhood popped up literally overnight. So which do you believe, man? Do you believe it took a long while to build a cul-de-sac, or do you believe it was literally overnight?
It's gonna be crazy later when RJ walks on top of the hedge and they find out their whole world is shaped like a Mobius strip. That's a deep cut for you Arthur C. Clarke fans.
I have nothing to add here, but I will say this. Don't you mean when RJ walks the critters through the hedge and find out, etc.?
It never ends that way too.
The idea that humans would spend the time and money to erect a perfectly healthy wall made of a living plant, rather than slap up a wooden fence and be done with it forever, is probably the most ridiculous part of this entire movie.
Well, yeah, a wooden fence would be simpler, but it wouldn't be natural. Plus, the fact that this is the most ridiculous part of the movie to you isn't true. It's everything, isn't it?
Imagine my disappointment when I went to research irrigation systems that shot jets of water anytime they were slightly disturbed and discovered they do not exist.
Motion sprinklers do exist. Imagine your disappointment now.
What was over these freaky pink primates?
The yard flamingos that did nothing are foremost in Vern's mind. Makes sense.
How deliberate is your fake delusion? How would anybody, aside from somebody who only vaguely paid attention to the movie, say Vern was referring to the plastic flamingos and not... Oh, wait. Somebody who only vaguely paid attention. That makes sense.
They must have come while we were hibernating.
Sure, during the winter, a small army of builders got all the houses built and prepared for all the people to move in all at once.
Or the animals moved in at a point between when the 54 acres of forest was taken out and when the houses were being built.
We will be fine as long as no one goes over Steve again.
Through. You mean through, Steve.
You wouldn't say, as long as nobody goes through that solid brick wall again. You'd say over it. Yeah, the Woodlanders were talking about what Vern went through when he went through the hedge, and the only way you can see what's going on is if you walk through it. But we're still talking about what lies over the hedge. Roll credits.
Except for that little bitty speck. You are here.
Which creates several questions, like how did RJ manage to find our forest friends in the first place? Or how does he plan to take the food through the neighborhood back to the forest without being seen? Or why is he worried that the bear will find him when he's in the middle of suburbia? Turns out they pretty much retconned this statement by the end of the movie and firmly showed that they are in a forest after all, and for that roller coaster of bullshit, I salute you.
Capitalism.
He's just now opening the chips that he was desperately hungry for. Just now.
He certainly wasn't hungry after he was threatened. Either that or he doesn't stress eat.
Honestly, I've been skeptical about the appeal of this snack, but after watching how many chips RJ has distributed to be eaten, I would go through a lot of trouble for a snack-sized bag of chips that contain this many.
I'm fairly certain that's just your average bag of chips now.
Gladys pulls a box full of food out of her car that's apparently been sitting there since she drove home earlier in the afternoon. I have the sneaking suspicion that she left that box there so RJ could prove that the humans have food everywhere.
Or she forgot it there. She's a Karen after all, they never think things through.
Good night, Vern.
And so the nocturnal creatures bed down for the night, because that makes total sense and nobody will question it.
Don't worry, their nocturnal element kicks in later. Just pay attention. Or don't. Like all cinema sinners.
Nocturnal creatures sleeping at night, squirrels that burp their ABCs, I can handle that. But showing a turtle without its shell, which is in fact part of its body, is straight up the dumbest shit ever.
Not the fact humans have spent the winter growing a massive hedge. That's not ridiculous anymore, it's a turtle's ass. Fair enough, it's logically stupid to show a turtle with no shell, but can you take 3 guesses as to why it wouldn't matter if it were logically stupid? I'll give you a hint. It starts with Anna.
Because this, my friends, is just the beginning.
Curious, considering just last night everyone agreed it was too dangerous to go into the neighborhood. Sure, sugar can change their minds, but is anyone but Vern remembering being beaten by a broom or sprayed with mace? Then when RJ had an actual plan to get the Girl Scout cookies, it barely worked. But now they're experts at acquiring not only food, but stuff that's not even from the trash.
Earlier, before RJ enters the forest again, most of the Woodlanders were experiencing withdrawal from that walk through suburbia and wanted some of the human food. And when RJ does enter the forest again, everyone, sans Vern, is happy to see the raccoon again. So it's fair to say they were immediately on board as soon as they got a good night's sleep and a second to consider the positives of suburbia, only covered up by that lady Gladys and Vern's naturally tentative demeanor. Simply put, yeah, everyone but Vern's on board. What's it to you?
By the way, the very idea that RJ knows every single item that they needed to replace from Vincent's cave is some total bullshit.
Not until you realize raccoons have a good memory that lasts for at least 3 years.
First, none of these items are food-related, and second, by now there should be a large tunnel through the hedge lined with bare twigs.
Firstly, of course it wasn't. It was for RJ. Secondly, suspension of disbelief.
Do you ever feel like someone on the production team is asking questions like, yeah, but how did the printer print a picture if there's no electricity? And then they were fired for asking?
How did the printer print a picture in the absence of electricity? If I had to guess, I'd say it's the Porcupine Children. They were the ones that hooked up RJ's TV, after all.
Also, what does the turtle sound like when he's talking in his own language?
Something like that. Thanks, Miskbill.
I personally guarantee that there will not be a living thing at this party.
Except people, right? Do they get to live?
Knowing the Depelter Turbo exists, I think it's safe to say there will truly be no living thing at this party.
Your new home.
How is any of this a surprise to RJ? Do you really think these animals went out and stole stuff without him knowing it? Or ever seeing it and wondering what it was?
Oh no, I'm certain RJ knew the animals were grabbing the stuff, because guess what we saw earlier in the montage. But didn't know why the animals were getting it, or thought it was just to make Vincent happier.
Check this out. We totally hooked up the TV. I hotwired the HC converter.
Because of course you suddenly know how to make human things work to your advantage and run power to your tiny patch of nature.
Kids know more about stuff than your Gen X have an ass and learn it faster. This is coming out of a Gen Z, by the way. Plus, yet again, disbelief suspension.
Vern is clearly trying to deal with his concerns about RJ, but he's also choosing to starve his family by returning all the food. Are we sure he's the good guy?
He didn't return the stuff with the intent of starving his family. You sound exactly like the critters do later.
You leave and I return this stuff to the rightful owners.
I know Vern doesn't know much about how things work, but I honestly can't see how he thinks he can get each individual thing back to every owner. Did they keep track of what they stole and from whom?
No. But even somebody like you should know that the people will know which of their stuff is theirs. Even if they misplace something, or all of it, the only thing that matters to this suburb is the very simple primate brain cells of see food, take food, eat food. Food good.
No. Right?
If you think this dog would have waited until hearing a chew toy to come out of the doghouse, you've never interacted with a dog before.
Yeah, you would know everything about dogs, wouldn't you, Mr. Cat Person?
Nobody in this neighborhood hears all this commotion or multiple fences getting busted down. And before you say, well, the movie just isn't showing it, take a look at this dumbass, completely unaware until the chase gets in his backyard.
Maybe the reason why is because nothing else in this goddamn suburban neighborhood matters unless it's about food. I just said that seconds ago. Well, why didn't he turn around? Because clearly he must have spidey senses to a wagon of food. I don't know, Jeremy! There's only so many times I could say the same goddamn thing about suspending your disbelief and just watching the movie. It could have been stapled to your forehead so much that it's piercing your brain, and you still want to be that guy.
Don't you understand there's something wrong with this guy?
Vern is right, but I haven't heard him provide an alternate plan. Before RJ showed up, their main conflict was that their once bountiful forest had been knocked down for a neighborhood that got built literally overnight. So where were they going to find food? If he found a natural food source, his argument would carry more weight.
A, because to Vern, there is no other plan than the natural way, simply searching and harvesting. B, you have always meant and always will mean literally over the course of the winter, so pronounce it as such. C, for the natural food source stuff, we do know Hammy has a secret place where he keeps his nuts.
Man, this exterminator's been asleep on the job for the last 5 hours. What was he doing during RJ and Vern's crash and burn through suburbia?
Off somewhere dealing with another infestation of critters or setting up traps.
As it is illegal in every state, except Texas.
Everything's legal in Texas, cliche.
Fuck you, that was a good delivery. Or I guess I should say it like this. Sending this line, that's worth these many sins.
Wait, does this trap have settings for different animals? All it does is set up a laser grid. Why would that be any different for rabbits, mice, or raccoons? And of course, there's a goddamn bear icon on this thing. Why not? Bears are one of suburbia's most oft-cited pests and not related to the plot at all.
You know, I would just pass this sin off as another sub-side sin because this is Jeremy hates movies cliche or something like that shit, but I do genuinely hate the sins where Jeremy is just like, thing that is needed so the movie can movie? That's a sin against God. Call the Exorcist. Call the medieval torture devices. I really do hate these. How many more sins of this nature do we have to endure before some sins media sap looks at the script of these videos and realizes something that is vital to the story, like plot convenience done right, to make it a story is not something wrong with the movie? Example, a logo simply telling you, hey, this company made it, is not something that's wrong with the movie. It's what helps set its visual identity apart from the other kids on the block in case the movie's looks aren't enough. If there's so many logos it's like that one joke at Family Guy, then yes, that can arguably be considered a problem. But most movies still do the quick with the logos move, and you still sit it because it lasted 15 seconds instead of 13. I can't say it enough, I hate these sins with a passion. That aside, and to be more relevant with the sin itself, A, as pointed out by CinemaSins, the dial adjusts the distance and the amount of lasers needed. So for a rabbit, loads of lasers. B, there is a bear in close proximity to the subs. Remember when you brought up the forest?
Adios, animal infestation.
This woman owns a house cat with a door to the backyard, so it's basically dead, right?
I don't think Tiger does much traversing through the backyard. That overfed pompous
Laser grid kills and traps the teddy bear even though it's set to rabbit. Like Ben Folds used to sing, give me my money back.
Okay, I would give you credit for using Ben Folds, but this is still really nitpicky about the laser ordeal.
Also, if you laser a critter to a crisp, why also trap it in a cage? Is death not enough?
On the offset chance the animal survives that mess, what's it going to do if it's trapped in a cage? Jesus Christ, that sounded sadistic. I meant to say sadistic.
You, Stella, will get that cat to give you his collar by using
My stink.
your feminine charms.
Oh, so this cartoon thinks that the Pepe Le Pew cartoons are something you can try and emulate in real life? No, wait, I heard myself say it. Doesn't mean I won't sin it, though.
Jeremy confirms he's a predator. We haven't gotten to this guy yet. Plus, this appears to be a Pepe Le Pew cartoon mixed up. The skunk is pretending to be the cat and not vice versa. The cat is in love with the skunk like crazy rather than running away. And the most important part? The cat can't smell, which means Stella's natural skunk stink gets not in the way of love. That's all I'll say about the Pepe Le Pew stuff because I can go all day.
Don't you dare!
And so parents everywhere left the theater knowing that there was a 63% chance their children just learned about butt plug.
And so children everywhere left the CinemaSins video knowing not only what a butt plug is, but how to use it. Children, I am sorry. Maybe it's time to go offline. You know too much. And you're only a kid.
Oh, not again. Dang it. Those things are so lifelike.
Yeah, but first off, that's a flamingo, which is rarely ever a yard pest. Second off, you could tell what animals were in the area by smell a minute ago. Are you a bumbling exterminator or are you good at it? I can't figure it out.
Because you seem to forget that the Verminator doesn't explicitly rely on smell to catch the animal. It's to catch the important details and, in turn, how to humanely dispose of them. One good whiff and he knows that a moment ago there was an Oryctolagus cuniculus domesticus out in the open.
Maybe this is a new fishing pole, but I choose not to believe that. Anyway, this fishing pole was used to climb the cliff where Vincent's cave was, and when RJ was done, he left it hanging on the cliff because the hook was still lodged in the rock. As we all know, RJ never got that pole back because Vinny chased him down the cliff, and I highly doubt he climbed that rock again just to get it back. The point is, I'm kind of a dick, but I'm right, unless he somehow stole a new fishing pole, in which case I'll sin it now and not be sorry later. What the show on TV would play a THX logo? He sure as didn't start a DVD player. The only thing on the table is this TV and my suspension of disbelief.
So pick that bitch up and take it to a place where they'll make it stronger and make you hold it.
You keep this up, you're gonna end up just like me, having everything you ever wanted.
You mean, if he keeps stealing food for a bear and selling out his friends, he'll somehow end up with the food? I don't get this line of dialogue at all.
Replace a bear with himself and you're golden.
So Vern falls on the Verminator's foot, which causes him to press the gas pedal. Now, in normal situations, this may rev the engine a bit. But in this loony over-the-top movie obsessed with receiving the extra award in the They Survived This category, the gas pedal is pressed permanently to the floor forever.
I thought that for 1 second, this wouldn't just be another sin worthy of being subsided. For 1 second! You could have noted something about how maybe the car's stick shift would have been set to drive, and you could mix that in with the fact Dwayne's knocked out and that's why it's stuck. But no! Instead we get hyphens for miles and a movie critic that doesn't know how to movie or critic! 9.18 million!
Animals driving the car. Look, I know Finding Dory and Toy Story 4 and The Secret Life of Pets all came out after this movie, but I'm tired. This movie is stealing from all those movies. I'll turn myself in at the fact police tomorrow, like they're Otis from the Andy Griffith Show.
You're the one who always says, trust your tail.
But it's not tingling.
Oh. Why didn't you say so?
Probably because it didn't matter the last time he told you.
I don't get this sin, honestly. There's many factors that come into play, like, what is the last time? You mean back in the house after RJ said, not without those spuddies? Because Vern didn't say anything about the tingle out loud to anybody.
Those porcupines are driving recklessly, but there is no way they are driving nearly 100 miles per hour.
To be fair, the speed seemed to fluctuate between holy shit to regular speeding ticket.
Yeah, I guess you're getting some kind of revenge here. For the record, you guys were in the wrong to steal stuff from her in the first place, but I digress. You guys are totally about to die, and all you're thinking about is, man, we sure got back at her.
Gladys had the most food. The GPS said previous destination selected, which leads to the log and their cartoon characters. What can I say?
Oh! The old jazz dance injury.
Yeah, it's probably the only thing that would really flare up after a 100-mile-an-hour Humvee flip into the top floor of the house that broke through the floor and crashed into the downstairs kitchen.
Oh yeah, and he was unconscious.
Jeez, maybe we didn't give enough credit to Over the Hedge for doing before other movies. This is the Quicksilver stuff we love so much from X-Men. Kind of admirable. But then it shows him being faster than the speed of light, and while the kid inside me is like, yes, the black hole of my heart is a place where even sins can't escape.
I think this is a sin that should escape that black hole that should be collapsing on itself. Since for an already speedy guy like Hammy to be going so fast the lasers are running a little short, that's damn impressive. But because you didn't let it escape, say bye-bye to your black hole and be reborn anew.
Damn, there goes HBO again.
And businesses like banks and hospitals. America's screwed in more ways than one.
What was the point of that massive heat ray if all that trap was going to do was lock them in a cage? He should be dead, right?
Call what I'm about to say some ex machina or plot convenient bullshit all you want, but the truth is, some things in life are best left unknown.
And you kept that a secret until now because...
Maybe he still had some energy left over from that Mach 6 can and went to look for his nuts.
The end credits scene shows that the rest area does occasionally fill their vending machines. According to the beginning of this movie, they only fill it when they're completely out. They're probably stocked by Truman's asshole buddy from The Truman Show.
I haven't seen The Truman Show, but I have my doubts it's him anyways.
Prepare for a lot of stinging.
And that's a diaper. And that does come out of a wazoo.
Why does Wanda Sykes talk like that? Oh, I could clear a room, Vern. That much I could do.
That's racist, but also impractical.